Before the rise of the Persian Empire, the Iranian plateau was home to sophisticated prehistoric cultures dating back to the Paleolithic period. Archaeological evidence from sites like Kashifrud and Ganjpar reveals human habitation stretching back over 400,000 years. The Neolithic period saw the development of agricultural settlements, with sites like Haji Firuz and Göbekli demonstrating early wine production and complex social organization around 7000 BCE. The Bronze Age brought the emergence of urban centers and the Elamite civilization in southwestern Iran around 3200 BC. Elam, with its capital at Susa, developed one of the world's earliest writing systems and maintained independence or influence over Mesopotamian affairs for over 2 millennia. The Elamites created impressive architectural monuments, including ziggurats and palaces, and established trade networks that connected the Iranian plateau with Mesopotamia and the Indus Valley. Indo-European migrations during the 2nd millennium BCE brought Iranian-speaking peoples to the plateau, including the Medes and Persians who would later establish great empires. These migrations created the linguistic and cultural foundations for classical Persian civilization, blending indigenous traditions with Indo-European customs and beliefs. Iran's recorded history begins with the rise of the Persian Empire under Cyrus the Great in 550 BCE, though the region had been inhabited for millennia. The Achaemenid Empire, founded by Cyrus, became the largest empire the ancient world had ever seen, stretching from India to Greece and from Central Asia to Egypt. Cyrus established a model of governance that was remarkably tolerant for its time, allowing conquered peoples to maintain their customs, religions, and local governance structures. The empire's administrative innovations included the first postal system, standardized coinage, and a complex bureaucracy that efficiently managed diverse populations across 3 continents. Persian kings like Darius the First developed infrastructure projects including khanats that transformed agriculture and enabled settlement in arid regions. These engineering achievements supported population growth and economic prosperity throughout the empire. The empire reached its zenith under Darius I, who created an efficient administrative system with satrapies, provinces, built the magnificent capital of Persepolis, and constructed the royal road that facilitated communication across the vast empire. The Persian Empire introduced innovative concepts like religious tolerance, human rights, as evidenced in the Cyrus Cylinder, and sophisticated administrative practices that influenced subsequent civilizations. Persian cultural achievements extended beyond administration to art, architecture, and religion. The development of Zoroastrianism under the prophet Zoroaster introduced concepts of ethical dualism, individual choice between good and evil, and divine judgment that profoundly influenced later monotheistic religions. Persian art synthesized influences from across the empire, creating distinctive styles in sculpture, metalwork, and textile production that set standards for luxury craftsmanship. The Achaemenid period ended when Alexander the Great conquered Persia in 331 BCE. Marking the beginning of Hellenistic influence in the region. After Alexander's death, the Seleucid Empire controlled much of Iran, blending Greek and Persian cultural elements. The Parthian Empire emerged around 247 BCE, establishing Iran as a major power once again. The Parthians, skilled horsemen and archers, successfully resisted Roman expansion into Western Asia for nearly 5 centuries. They revived Persian traditions while incorporating Hellenistic elements, creating a unique cultural synthesis. The Sassanid Empire 2246-51 CE followed the Parthians and is considered the last great Iranian empire before the Islamic conquest. Under rulers like Khosrow I, the Sassanids reached new heights of cultural, architectural, and scientific achievement. They established Zoroastrianism as the state religion, developed a sophisticated court culture, and engaged in extensive trade along the Silk Road. The Sassanids were frequent rivals of the Byzantine Empire, engaging in numerous wars that weakened both empires and made them vulnerable to the emerging Arab Islamic forces. The Arab conquest of Iran in 651 CE marked a watershed moment in Iranian history. The last Sassanid king, Yazdegerd III, was defeated, and Iran was incorporated into the rapidly expanding Islamic Empire. Initially, the Umayyad Caliphate treated Iranians as second-class subjects, despite their conversion to Islam. The Abbasid Revolution of 750 CE, which overthrew the Umayyads, was significantly supported by Iranian Muslims who sought greater equality within the Islamic world. Under Abbasid rule, Iranian culture began to reassert itself within an Islamic framework. The city of Baghdad became a center of learning, and Iranian scholars made significant contributions to Islamic theology, philosophy, science, and literature. During this period, Persian literature began to flourish again, most notably with the epic poetry of Ferdowsi's Shahnameh, Book of Kings. Completed around 1010 CE, this masterwork preserved pre-Islamic Iranian mythology, history, and cultural identity while adapting to the Islamic context. The Seljuk Turks conquered Iran in the 11th century, establishing a dynasty that ruled much of the Middle East. Under Seljuk rule, Iran experienced cultural renaissance with advances in architecture, literature, and Islamic scholarship. The period saw the construction of magnificent mosques and madrasas, and the flourishing of Persian poetry under masters like Omar Khayyam and later Hafez and Rumi. The Mongol invasion of 1219 to 1221 under Genghis Khan devastated Iran, destroying cities, irrigation systems, and killing vast numbers of people. However, the Mongol Ilkhanate, established by Hulagu Khan, eventually adopted Persian administrative practices and Islamic religion. The Mongols' initial destruction was followed by a period of reconstruction and cultural synthesis. The Timurid period 1370–1507 saw another wave of Turco-Mongol conquest under Timur, Tamerlane, followed by a remarkable cultural flowering. Timurid princes became great patrons of arts and learning, particularly in Herat, which became a major center of Persian literature, miniature painting, and architecture. The Safavid dynasty, founded by Shah Ismail I in 1501, marked the beginning of modern Iran. The Safavids made Twelver Shia Islam the official state religion, distinguishing Iran from its Sunni Ottoman and Uzbek neighbors. This religious policy created a distinct Iranian national identity that persists today. Under Shah Abbas I, 1588 to 1629, the Safavid Empire reached its peak. Abbas modernized the military, moved the capital to Isfahan, which became known as half the world for its beauty, and promoted trade with European powers. The Safavids created a centralized state, promoted Persian culture, and established Iran as a major regional power. The Safavid period witnessed a golden age of Iranian art, architecture, and craftsmanship. The stunning mosques, palaces, and gardens of Isfahan exemplified Persian aesthetic principles, while carpet weaving, ceramics, and metalwork reached new levels of sophistication. After the Safavids, Iran experienced a period of instability until the Zand dynasty, 1751 to 1794, brought temporary unity under Karim Khan Zand, who ruled from Shiraz and was known for his just governance. The Qajar dynasty, 1789 to 1925, ruled Iran during a critical period when the country first encountered European colonial powers and modern technology. The Qajars faced the challenge of defending Iran against Russian expansion from the north and British influence from the south and east. Iran lost significant territories to Russia in the Caucasus through the treaties of Gulistan, 1813, and Turkmenche, 1828. The 19th century brought increasing European influence, technological innovation, and social change. The tobacco protests of 1891 to 1892 and the constitutional revolution of 1905–1911 demonstrated growing demands for political reform and resistance to foreign domination. The constitutional revolution established Iran's first parliament, majlis, and constitution, though political instability continued. World War I devastated Iran despite its declared neutrality, with Russian, British, and Ottoman forces operating on Iranian territory, causing famine and economic disruption. Reza Khan, a military officer, seized power in a coup in 1921 and established the Pahlavi dynasty in 1925. Reza Shah Pahlavi initiated ambitious modernization programs, including the construction of the Trans-Iranian Railway, establishment of Tehran University, and legal reforms that reduced clerical power. He promoted Iranian nationalism, changed the country's name from Persia to Iran, and implemented policies to centralize power and modernize society. During World War II, Britain and the Soviet Union occupied Iran and forced Reza Shah to abdicate in favor of his son, Mohammad Reza Pahlavi. The war years brought foreign occupation, political instability, and economic hardship. The post-war period saw the oil nationalization movement under Prime Minister Mohammad Mossadegh, who nationalized the British-controlled oil industry in 1951. The CIA-backed coup of 1953 removed Mossadegh and strengthened the Shah's power, beginning a period of increasing authoritarianism backed by Western support. The 1960s and 1970s brought the White Revolution, a series of reforms including land redistribution, women's suffrage, and economic modernization funded by oil revenues. However, rapid modernization created social tensions, increased inequality, and resentment against Western influence and authoritarian rule. The Islamic Revolution of 1979, led by Ayatollah Ruhollah Khomeini, overthrew the Pahlavi monarchy and established the Islamic Republic of Iran. The revolution was driven by multiple factors: opposition to authoritarian rule, resentment of Western influence, economic inequality, and desire for authentic Iranian Islamic identity. The early years of the Islamic Republic were marked by internal power struggles, the consolidation of clerical rule, and the devastating Iran-Iraq War 1980 to 1988. The war, initiated by Saddam Hussein's Iraq, resulted in hundreds of thousands of casualties and enormous economic damage, but also strengthened national unity and the Islamic Republic's legitimacy. Under Ayatollah Khomeini's successor, Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, Iran has navigated complex domestic and international challenges. The country has experienced periods of reform and conservatism, economic growth and sanctions, regional influence and international isolation. The reform movement of the late 1990s and early 2000s under President Mohammad Khatami promoted greater political openness and civil society development. However, conservative forces maintained control over key institutions, limiting reform efforts. Iran's nuclear program became a major international issue in the 2000s, leading to multiple rounds of sanctions and diplomatic negotiations. The 2015 Joint Comprehensive Plan of Action, JCPOA, provided sanctions relief in exchange for nuclear restrictions, but the agreement collapsed after the United States withdrew in 2018. The disputed presidential election of 2009 sparked the largest protests in Iran since the 1979 revolution. The Green Movement, led by reformist candidates Mir Hossein Mousavi and Mehdi Karoubi, challenged the official results that declared Mahmoud Ahmadinejad the winner. Millions of Iranians took to the streets demanding electoral reform and greater political freedoms, using social media to organize and communicate with the outside world. The government's violent crackdown on protesters, including the killing of Neda Aga Sultan, which became a symbol of the movement, ultimately suppressed the immediate protests but highlighted deep societal divisions. The Green Movement represented broader aspirations for democratic governance, civil rights, and social freedoms, particularly among Iran's large youth population. The period also saw Iran's increasing regional influence through its involvement in Iraq, Syria, Lebanon, and Yemen, positioning itself as a major power in Middle Eastern geopolitics despite international sanctions. Iran's support for groups like Hezbollah and its alliance with Syria and Russia demonstrated its commitment to challenging Western and Saudi Arabian influence in the region. Iran's economy has been severely impacted by international sanctions, particularly those targeting its oil exports and banking system. The sanctions, intensified after Iran's nuclear program expansion, have caused significant inflation, unemployment, and reduced living standards for ordinary Iranians. The collapse of the Iranian rial and limited access to international markets have forced the country to develop alternative economic partnerships, particularly with China and Russia. Despite these challenges, Iran has developed significant domestic capabilities in technology, pharmaceuticals, and manufacturing. The country has maintained its position as a major regional power through strategic alliances and proxy relationships, while its educated population continues to drive innovation in various sectors. Modern Iran remains a complex society balancing traditional Islamic values with demands for political and social modernization. The country possesses significant natural resources, an educated population, and rich cultural heritage, but faces challenges including economic sanctions, political restrictions, regional tensions, and social pressures for greater freedoms. The 2022 protests following the death of Mahsa Amini in police custody over hijab violations sparked nationwide demonstrations demanding fundamental political and social change. These protests, led primarily by women and youth, represented the most significant challenge to the Islamic Republic's authorities since its establishment, highlighting ongoing tensions between state ideology and societal aspirations. Iranian society today reflects millennia of historical experiences. The Persian imperial legacy, Islamic civilization, encounters with modernity, and the ongoing struggle to define Iran's place in the contemporary world. The country's strategic location, energy resources, and regional influence ensure that Iran's future development will continue to have significant implications for the Middle East and global politics. Throughout its long history, Iran has demonstrated remarkable resilience and adaptability, maintaining distinctive cultural identity while absorbing and transforming various external influences. This historical pattern suggests that Iran will continue to navigate contemporary challenges while preserving its unique character as an ancient civilization adapting to modern realities. The tension between Iran's rich historical legacy and contemporary pressures for change continues to shape its national discourse and future trajectory.
Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please like, share, comment, and subscribe to the channel for more engaging historical content.